Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. Today I'm going to be reviewing Fonda Lee's book 1 of the Greenbone Saga, which is called Jade City. I just finished this a few days ago, and I've been thinking about it, and I really enjoyed this book. This is a book that is sort of like a more political Mistborn, I feel like. Well, maybe not more political, but more, I guess, underground politics kind of. It's basically like Sopranos meets Mistborn. Because you have this material, Jade. It's the same one that we have in our world. But in this world, it gives them special powers. And it's something that is very strictly distributed and also held on to by many different clans within this particular nation that the story takes place in. Because we have three major countries sort of vying for this power, and some of them want to use it to fund the military. Some of them just want it to basically have better police forces. And all the clans and characters that we see that the novel is focused around, they're trying to keep it pretty ritualized, pretty sacred, and making sure that no other clan gets a hold of it, because every time you get some jade, then you're able to give that to someone who hasn't really used the powers yet, because most people are able to use this power, but it takes a lot of training in order to be able to really sort of harness it in a way that won't kill you, because one of the negative effects of it is that the more jade that you have, the more susceptible you are to the madness, basically, which is, they call it the shivers, which is where your mind goes completely blank and you're just kind of freaking out. You're unable to recognize anyone. It's sort of like a magically induced Alzheimer's, which is really interesting because you have multiple characters in the storyline who have been through this, and some characters where our POVs feel like they're slipping into the shivers. And this is mostly like a pretty standard Yakuza gangster story. I say Yakuza first because I see a lot of comparisons between like the Goodfellas and Sopranos and all that with this book, but I think it would be more accurate to be talking about the Yakuza movie genre. Movies by the director of like Kenji Fukasaku, for example, who did a lot of Yakuza movies, and I love these type of movies. I should have grabbed a few off the shelf to show, but if you're a fan of that genre, and if you played any of the Yakuza video games that are on, I think it's all consoles, then you sort of know a lot of sort of the tropes that the story will have. There'll be a lot of betrayal. There'll be some torture of prisoners. There will be a lot of backstabbing going on. There'll be a lot of twists, and that's sort of why I love that genre so much. And I think this book, although I saw a lot of things coming, I loved the character work. I thought the characters were absolutely amazing in this book. All of them I had investment in. And I feel like maybe one of the characters I kind of groaned when I would start a new chapter and I would see it's their POV. And I was like, ah, man. But like 90% of the POVs, I really wanted to read more about. And I love the character of Shay. I love the character of and his nickname is Andy, but it's like Andon or something like that. Uh, all these younger characters I felt like were awesome because they were in the midst of the sort of finding out what they wanted to do. Because Shay is a character who was in the clan working with Jade, and then she'd left the life to go live at one of the more wealthy cities that doesn't really know anything about Jade. And she goes there for education. She comes back eventually, and she doesn't want to be a part of it, but she is slowly put right back into that life. And I really loved learning more about her. I loved seeing her worldview. And for the character of Andy, I really enjoyed his character because there was a lot of conflict within himself. And that's something that I think is really interesting to read about. are characters who are not totally sure who they want to be or even what they want out of life. And this book just that's like a constant thing that's going on through all of the characters. It's sort of this war within themselves of like, these are what people view me as, these are the expectations, but like, what do I want? And we have a lot of just really amazing supporting characters. I love the character of Lan a lot, which another series I've read many times is Wheel of Time, so it was fun to get that name again, Lan. And I really, really loved his character. I thought he was just such a great, like, sort of supporting character for all the characters who were struggling, because again, there's a lot of like identity crises going on and sort of like, what do I want out of life? And also the action was great because it wasn't like narrating every action. Like, it was just very quick battle scenes. I really enjoyed them. There was a lot of, towards the end of the book, there was a lot more use of the Jade in terms of like what its magical properties are. And I really enjoyed those sections, and I will not go into those because of spoilers, but I really, really enjoyed this book. I am so excited to continue on with the series, although I don't have books 2 and 3 yet, so I'm gonna have to read a few more books because my kind of reading kind of style is that I have over 100 books in my TBI, and I just bought like a bunch. I'm trying to find my finger here. I just bought this big stack right here of books the other day because I had a gift card, and I turned in a lot of books for my collection that I just knew I wasn't going to read again. And I like to basically trade in books and then be able to get new books out of whatever trade in value I get. And if I don't do that, then I go to thrift books because it's cheap that way to buy books that way. But I only had book 1 of the series, and I was very nervous because I read the Bone Ships last week or 2 weeks ago, and that was pretty disappointing. I felt like it was still good. I enjoyed it, but like for what it was. But I was really kind of like nervous starting this trilogy because I'm not continuing with the Bone Ships trilogy. But I really wanted to at least read this because a lot of people recommended this to me. And I've also seen the author talk at a convention. I went to Dragonsteel last year, or I guess 2 years ago. I can't remember. Yeah, it was 2 years ago, in 2024. Yeah, the end of 2024 when Wind and Truth was coming out. And I loved hearing her talk and hearing her perspectives on fantasy because it was her, Robin Hobb, and a few other authors who were talking about like representation and fantasy. And it was really fascinating to get her views because I had never read any of her books before. And so after hearing how she writes and how she views fantasy and all this other stuff, I was really excited to read this book, and I was so happy to have started it this week, or this within the last 7 days, because it was a lot of fun. I could put the book down, but I was always kind of like clamoring for the next POV, like, because it's so nice having a multi POV story, because I feel like it's a lot of like sort of burden just having a singular point of view. That's why I didn't really enjoy the Bone Ships as much. It's why I think a lot of people don't like the Robin Hobb stories as much, like especially Farseer trilogy, because single POV is really hard, because if you don't like that character, then the entire book is going to fall apart for you. But thankfully, almost all the characters in this book I really enjoyed reading. And I really enjoyed reading the villains as well. It's really interesting getting these kind of back and forths between the different clans and the kind of fight to control the city, because they are trying to have domination over a city and trying to take it over very covertly using the economy and using Jade and illegal products and stuff like drugs and all that. There's this drug called Shine that is used. And I thought it was just such a great, great book. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to give it probably a 9 out of 10. I think it's good enough that I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. 8.5 just feels a little low for me. But as I said, the character work was fantastic. I loved sort of the entire city. The city felt like a character unto itself. And it was, I just really loved it. The prose as well. I mean, it wasn't Tolkien level, but it wasn't like very accessible prose. Like, she really had some craft within her word craft or word work. And I really enjoyed it. I recommend anyone to go read this. This is just such a great book. It's short. It's about 600 pages, I think, maybe 500 pages, and it's worth it. I love this book. I hope anyone else who hasn't read it will go into this, because this is just such a fun book, and I can't wait to see what the sequels have in store. So let me know what you think about this book below. And again, I have a Patreon, and I have that link down below if you're interested in supporting the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.